Hey, what's going on everyone? So in this video, we're gonna take a look at 9 different jobs that don't require a 4-year college degree. So this is a highly requested video. And I think we have a slight problem within our society where it seems as though 95% of high school students, or at least in my high school, 95% of high school students are being highly pressured into attending 4-year universities. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's very, very important for people to go to 4-year university and get bachelor's degrees. But there's a lot of people who aren't really being shown these opportunities for some of these jobs where you can get straight out of high school or after just 2 years of community college and you can be earning close to or upwards of $100,000 per year. So that's what we're going to share in this video. 9 different jobs that don't require a 4-year degree and in most cases $100,000 or $200,000 in student loans. So without any further ado, let's get into this video. All right, so we'll start with number 9 and we'll work our way down to number 1. Number 9 is by becoming a web developer. Now, web developers on average make about $74,000 per year, and this typically will require you to have an associate's degree. Now, you could become an apprentice under some other web developers, but essentially you're creating websites and working on graphic design within those websites for clients, mostly businesses that do need to have very professional looking websites. Now, the top 10% of web developers are making upwards of $100,000 per year, right around $122,000 per year for this, and it doesn't require a 4-year degree. Now, does a 4-year degree help with this? Obviously, it probably does help with a web developing company, but you only need a 2-year degree, but realistically you don't need one at all. I don't want to make it sound like it's an easy job. It's certainly something that takes a lot of skill and a lot of time to build up over time, but you don't need to have that 4-year degree in order to make some decent money with a web developing company. So that is number 9. Let's move on to number 8, which is possibly one of my favorite on this list, and that is becoming a real estate agent. So if you're familiar with Graham Stefan, he makes some really interesting videos about real estate and how he sells houses in Beverly Hills and whatnot. But he makes, I think in 2017, he said that he made somewhere around $700,000 in total profit. Now, some of that was from real estate investments and whatnot, but a good portion of it was from selling homes and apartment complexes and whatnot. And so this is something that you can look into as well. Becoming a real estate agent, it doesn't require you to go to college. You do have to pass a couple of exams depending on what state you're in, but it does not require a college degree. And it's something that if you're extroverted or if you have a great personality, it's something you can make a ton of money in. Now, do all real estate agents make $400,000 per year? No, a good portion of them make a little bit less than that. I think the average salary for real estate agents is somewhere in the $45,000 range, and the top 10% makes about $109,000 per year as a real estate agent. So the next one is going to require a little bit more work with your hands, and I tried to keep this list in a way where some of them are going to be more so desk jobs and others are going to be a little bit more manual labor, just to mix it in there for everyone. And so the next one is going to be by becoming a Boilermaker. So this is sort of like welding in a sense. You're going to be making a lot of vats, you're going to be working on ships in some cases, and the average salary for Boilermakers is somewhere around $62,000 per year. The top 10% makes upwards of about $87,000 per year as a Boilermaker. Now, is this difficult work? Yes, it definitely is, but it's something that you can learn through an apprenticeship. It definitely helps to have some welding experience as a background, so you can go to a technical school for welding and then become a Boilermaker and get some nice job offers out there. And you could probably become part of a union as a Boilermaker. In a lot of cases, a lot of these Boilermakers are in a union, and you can get some really decent benefits by being in a union, as with some of these other jobs that I'll mention in this list. So the next one is by becoming an electrician. Now, right now, the average salary for electricians is somewhere around $54,000. Now, this doesn't mean that if you start as, year 1 as an electrician, you're going to make 54 grand. You're probably going to make less than that, but over time you can build it up, and that's probably why the top 10% of electricians make somewhere around $90-some thousand per year as an electrician. This is something that you can do straight from technical school into the workforce. So you could go from high school while doing technical school in high school straight into the workforce as an electrician and make a pretty decent amount of money right off the bat. That's why I want to throw it in this list. Definitely working with your hands. You're going to involve a little bit more risk. You're dealing with electrical currents. Obviously there's risk involved, but it's certainly something that could pay you pretty well. Now, there is another one that I want to mention here that kind of ties in with an electrician, and that is by becoming someone who actually installs and maintains power lines. So electrical power lines that go all the way down your road, most likely down your street. And this is obviously going to be another job that could involve a lot of risk, but that's probably why the average salary is about $60,000 per year, with the top 10% netting about $100,000 per year as someone who is installing and repairing and maintaining power lines. So how do you get into this? Most likely, just like how you get into becoming an electrician, you want to go to a trade school of some sort for electrical. It's really going to give you a really nice base for this, and you can apply for a job like this one. Now, another route that you could consider going is by becoming a registered nurse. Now, there's a reason why I really think that this is an interesting route to go, because registered nurses are going to be growing in the future. We're talking double-digit % growth in the next 10 years, in the next 10 to 15 years for registered nurses. So there's going to be a very high demand for registered nurses. That's why they're going to be making $70,000 per year on average, with some of them making upwards of $100,000 per year as a registered nurse. And you don't have to go to a 4-year school for this. You can get an associate's degree for nursing, or you can go to some other programs. You might want to look into this a little bit further. I'm not an expert on this, and I'm not going to pretend like I am, but I know that you don't have to go for a 4-year school to become a registered nurse and make a pretty decent amount of money. Well, like I said, one of the best parts about this is that it's definitely an up-and-coming and kind of always up-and-coming area, which is healthcare. So let's get into the last few ones on this list that I think you might find to be a little bit interesting. So this next one is definitely one of the most interesting on this list, and I'll tell you why. This has a lot of potential to make a lot of money, and that is by becoming someone who is installing, repairing, or maintaining elevators. So we have millions of elevators in this world, but most companies and most office owners are not going to want to hire their janitor or their custodian to fix an elevator. This is something that could really cause a lot of damage. It could kill people if you don't do it right. So you're not going to just have your janitor fixing up your elevator. You want somebody who's professional and can take on that liability and the responsibility to fix elevators. So you can become someone who repairs them, maintains them, and trust me, if you've ever lived in a high-rise building, I lived in one last year and it sucked in terms of elevators. It was breaking every other day, and the elevator repair people were coming in every other day to fix it, and they were making a lot of money. That's why they're making about $70-some thousand per year, with the top 10% making upwards of $115,000 per year as an elevator repairman or someone who's installing them and maintaining them. There's always going to be problems with elevators, and there's always going to be need people to fix these elevators. Now, how do you actually become an elevator repairman? Well, one of the best ways is to become an apprentice for some of these companies. You can seek them out. If you have some type of background in this area, it can certainly help you. Going to a trade school for something in this field could certainly help you as well. So since we just covered a manual labor job, let's talk about one that doesn't require a lot of manual labor, and that is by becoming a paralegal. So paralegals on average are going to make about $50,000 per year. The upper 10% are going to make upwards of $80,000 per year as someone who is going to be assisting attorneys and lawyers, most likely doing some research for them, maybe setting up meetings for them, but in general, just assisting a lawyer to really help them out, and you can make a pretty decent amount of money. How do you become a paralegal? Well, you're generally going to want to go to a 2-year school, so probably your local community college or your city college, and then get that associate's degree to become a paralegal, or you could actually look into a 4-year degree, but not everyone needs that 4-year degree in order to become a paralegal. So number 1 on this list is by becoming a dental hygienist. So right now they're making on average about $74,000 per year. In order to become a dental hygienist, you're generally going to have to go to school for 2 years for your local community college or your local college. Now there are people who go for 4 years, and you could do that as well, but a lot of them will go for just 2 years, and they'll get that associate's degree, and then they can become a dental hygienist. Like I said, on average $74,000 per year, with the top 10% making upwards of $100,000 per year. So those are the 9 on this list. If you enjoyed the video in any way, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see everybody next time.